Yo, still bills. What's the tszyu, man? Yo, gotta make one more run. Nigga, I want some carne today, so we gonna crash some carne asada for the day for dinner, man. But peep game, we gotta get into this shit, man. And that is Terrence Bud Crawford eyeing a fight with tszyu. Balling. Absolutely balling, Brody. This will be the most challenging fight of his career if he does this shit, man. After that whole situation with Earl Spence a week or two ago, with him blaming cataracts or whatever in his eye, that's why he was eating all those jabs and hooks or whatever the case may. Man, listen, Brody, just nah. There's no, there was no scenario that could have played out where Earl Spence would have been victorious in that matchup, bro. It's just too many. It's just too many holes in this game to deal with somebody as polished and nuanced as Bud. He's a 1,500 piece puzzle. The dude, it's just too hard for you to dig, to figure that dude out. For somebody like Spence, you dig? When you have fighters who gave a more trying and challenging time to Bud than you did, I just feel like that. I get it. Styles make fights or whatever. I definitely understand that, man. But you beat Sean Porter, and Sean Porter presented a bigger challenge than you did against Bud. So I mean, just I'm not into the triangle theories. Don't work, but there are parallels in them that remain true. You dig? So when you look at Sean Porter, he was able to trouble Bud a lot more because it was the speed, it was the foot, the feet, the counter punching. You did coming in low. It was all of that shit that he had to eventually get, fully adjust to where he can gain complete control over the fight. Spence was never in that fight. Even the first round that they fought, it was arguably a Bud round. You get what I'm saying? So you was never going to be victorious in that fight. There's no scenario that could have played out where you'd have been victorious in that fight. So for you to run to social media talking about you got surgery because of your cataracts or whatever, and you did get, like, y'all don't get checked before the fights, every part of y'all body that will suffer damage because of the blows that are landed, neurology, you think they aren't going to neurologists to get checked out, make sure your head is right. Are you slurring your speech? You delaying your speech, your eyes? Just we don't want to risk anything going wrong to where you're blinded from for the rest of your life. So they check all of that shit out. Ribs, you dig? I was hearing shit about cracked ribs or whatever, protruding ribs before he even went in the fight. I'm like, he can't. It just didn't make sense, man. So now you had this excuse right here to be thrown into the array of excuses as to why Bud did how he did him, how he did him. It's just ridiculous. So for whatever reason, they talking about the fight just ain't gonna go down. I don't know if Spence is backing out or what. I don't know. But now he's eyeing tszyu, which I think would be dope. Spence could get a comeback fight. They both can get acclimated to 154 pounds and do the rematch up there. I think that would be dope, man. But as far as tszyu is concerned, I think that's a far more formidable fight than Spence. You dig? I love that fight. And it should happen in Australia. You're talking about big paydays. He's not gonna get that seismic payday here in front of tszyu that he could get in Australia. Or if Turkey Al-Sheikh decided to say, hey, bring that shit here. I love that fight, Brody. I love it, man. And I know it's a contingency of people who want Bud to fight Canelo, and they think he go in there and he'll just decimate Canelo. I'm not saying that shit can't happen. I don't ever want anybody to think that I'm saying Bud to go in there and get violated by Canelo. All I'm saying is I'm leaving room for error. So if that is the case, if that does prove to be true, let's at least see him how he does at 154 pounds against tszyu. Because I figured this fight was going to happen. tszyu and Jermell Charlo are the biggest fights that dude can have as far as the big paydays. Those are the biggest fights that he can have. I don't see any fight that could generate that type of interest at 160 pounds But 68, you got Canelo. If we can get through Tim Tszyu, we can get through to get through. Or if he beats Tim Tszyu, all right, cool. Jamel, you up there at 160? I'm coming to holler at you. You go up there and you do what you got to do against Jermell Charlo, then bet. Now we talking. All right, cool. You did. You tested the waters at 154, 160. You could be. You could. Now it's not out of the realm of possibility that you can beat Canelo in his own pond. But I just want, just baby steps. You dig? There are weight classes for a reason. And what people are doing in the now is they're taking the shellacking that he put on Spence and they're equating that to every other fight. Like, oh, he would beat Floyd Mayweather. Floyd and Spence are not the same fighter. Spence isn't going to present the same problems that Manny could have presented. For you to just say he would have beat Manny at his fever pitch, the Manny that beat Miguel Cotto, the Manny that beat goddamn Tim Bradley, the Manny that would have that beat what's my man name? Jesse Vargas, the Manny that beat Chris Algeria, Brandon Rios, or even Marquez. You dig that Manny? Just they give different looks than Spence was able to give him. So you talking about putting him in there with somebody 21 pounds higher than the division that he's in. And you're also expecting him to have the same level of punch resistance at that weight and be able to carry that weight. Can he move gracefully on his feet? Is he going to gas out trying to defend himself, getting to the sides of shots and up under shots? Is he going to punch himself trying to get this dude, keep this dude off of him? You dig? So I just want baby steps. That's all I'm asking for, man. That's all I'm asking for. And I think fighting someone like a Tim Tszyu, me personally, I would like to see him get his feet wet before he even went in there with Tim Tszyu. I would like to see him get his feet wet first. But, he's at the point where in his career, he's like, I can't afford to wait. You dig? It's either sink or swim. All right, bet. I can respect that. So, fuck it. Go for that Tim Tszyu fight. I fuck with that fight. That's a balling ass fight in Australia. You want a payday, it has to be in Australia. Otherwise, it's not going to be as big as you thought it was. It's just not. And that's okay. Whatever the fuck ever. It's still a good fight nonetheless. But if you want big paydays, it has to be in Australia. It has to be. There's no excuse why it shouldn't be in Australia. It has to be in Australia. It has to be. It has to be. So that's how I'm feeling about that, man. I was happy to see him, for him to mention Tim Tszyu. We just finna go holler at Tim. I love that shit. Hell yeah. Yes, nigga. Yes. Go get that Tim Tszyu work. Go get that Tim Tszyu work. So, yeah, the Spence fight. If we being real, I'm not even interested in the rematch with Spence. I'm just not. I'm just not. I don't give a fuck about that rematch because it's just like, what can you do to adjust the shit that the tools that you would have needed to beat Bud, that you would need to beat Bud, you should have been refining that shit. What the fuck? You should have been refining that shit at the start of since the amateurs. Since the amateurs. You dig? You should have been able to learn to get to the side of shots and get up under shots. You know what I'm saying? You should have been a lot more defensively responsible. You should have been doing them footwork drills in the gym. You should have been working on counter punching. You should have been doing all of that shit. Those are the skill sets that you're gonna need to be able to deal with somebody who has that and more. Bud is probably the most, not even probably, Bud is the most complete. There's a lot of complete fighters in the sport. Canelo's a complete fighter. Usyk's a complete fighter. Inoue is a complete fighter. Golovkin was a complete fighter. I don't think he was as complete as Canelo because I just when his defensive, I don't think he was as defensively responsible as someone like a Canelo Alvarez. But I just think he did a lot of things. He did a lot of things great. I think I think it's a fine balance of offense and defense that makes you a complete fighter. But he was so Golovkin's a complete fighter. It's a multitude of fighters who are complete fighters. Bud is extra credit. He's extra credit. In school, you get extra credit. You get 100% on this, on this homework assignment right here. And because you did so exceptionally well on it, you get the extra points or whatever to to raise your grade level or whatever within that class. That's Bud. That's Bud. Bud is a 5.0 GPA in school, bro. He's that incredible. He's that incredible. So you can't go in there being being limited and one dimensional and think you're gonna come out victorious in that fight. It's just not gonna happen, bro. So I don't. There was never an outcome where Spence could have presented a threat to Bud. I don't. They can come with all these excuses that they want to come with. He was never gonna beat Bud. Just wasn't gonna happen, Brody. It just wasn't gonna happen. Bud is the most complete fighter right now. I'm sorry, not sorry. So him versus Tim Tszyu, I like it. I love it. I think it's dope. Make that shit happen in Australia. In Australia, it has to be in Australia if you want that big payday. It has to be in Australia. So that's how I'm feeling about it, man. I'll get with y'all later, y'all. Y'all be easy.